Have you ever felt your entire life was turned upside down instantly? As if the person you trusted the most in life was hiding a side of themselves you never expected? This is precisely what happened to me. My wife, the woman I thought was my partner in everything, was covertly involved with a colleague, and worse, she was quietly scheming to abandon me. But here's the deal. I found out. And when I did, I resolved to regain control of the situation. Instead of letting her surprise me, I turned the tables and ensured she felt the shock she had intended for me. Before we begin, please subscribe to my channel. I want 1,000 subscribers, and it's only possible with your support. Let's get started. I, a 37-year-old man, have a sense my wife, a 39-year-old woman named Nora, is up to something. It may be an affair, or she has outgrown love. She has been acting strangely and coldly for the past few months. Initially, I dismissed it as a phase, but now I should take action before it is too late. Nora and I have been married for slightly less than 8 years. Prior to that, we had been dating for about 5 years. Back then, we both worked part-time in sales. Nora was saving for her master's degree while I was working on my business. We both eventually quit. She went to graduate school, and I started my own business. After finishing her education, she inquired about my plans for our future. She wanted to marry. She wanted stability and a life together, but I was wary. I emphasized how busy my job was and how I might need more time to provide her with the life she desired. I do not come from a wealthy family and want to leave that wealth to future generations. Nora pledged to be by my side through thick and thin. She told me she would not be a clinging bride because she planned to pursue her PhD and work in the research sector, which was quite demanding. I eventually gave in, believing I had found my forever partner. Our plans seemed to be the best fit for us, so we got married. The first several years of our marriage were difficult, but we worked through them. While I worked tirelessly, Nora managed the house and her PhD. I put my whole heart and soul into my work. That doesn't mean I ignored her. We still had monthly date evenings and quarterly getaways. I couldn't help her with her everyday domestic tasks. However, I made certain that I spent my Sundays working on the house, repairing the basin, cleaning the attic, plumbing the clogged pipes, and doing whatever else I needed. She occasionally complained about my late hours and missed dinners, but she was understanding. After all, the money I brought to the house allowed us to live comfortably and securely. Her unfailing support made me believe that we were creating something great together. She finished her PhD but never found a job. She volunteered for occasional research projects. Not exactly a job. I suppose she became complacent with her life, which I didn't mind because my business was growing, and I was able to provide nicely for both of us. Fast forward to the present. My business is steady, and we enjoy a comfortable and prosperous lifestyle. I finally have the time and resources to dedicate to her and her future. We've also been planning a baby for 3 to 4 years. Because of our advanced age, it has become a hindrance. Although it wasn't a big concern to us, it was affecting our mental health, particularly hers. Almost a year ago, we went to treatment, and she decided to start a career to distract herself. She felt unfulfilled and desired something of her own. I was supportive of her decision. I just wanted to see her happy. I inquired whether she was bothered by anything or what had prompted her decision. She said she hoped to have a baby first before beginning her profession, but the possibilities were slim. It drove her up the wall, so refocusing on her profession made sense. I agreed with her idea. It sounded like the most reasonable choice. I helped her look for work. It took her a while to discover a chance. She eventually got a position at a medium-sized corporation. She was thrilled. It felt great to see her happy finally after months. Our connection improved, although it was short-lived. Something has changed over the previous 3 or 4 months. She is no longer the kind and loving woman I married. She's grown distant, impatient, and fixated on her phone and laptop. When it all started, she blamed her job, claiming she needed more effort to understand the ropes. She began working late hours, arriving home well after dinner. It was still okay because she accepted responsibility for her conduct. She'd let me know if she was running late or organizing something special to compensate for missing a date night. I assumed it was the stress of a new job, so I gave her room. But things only worsened. She hardly speaks or smiles at me anymore. Whenever I approach her, she responds with frigid one-word answers. When I inquire about her schedule, she snaps and accuses me of being controlling. What is the worst part? She started gaslighting me as if everything was my fault. When I protest to her about not giving us enough time, she smirks and says stuff like this. This is how you have been for the last 8 years. How does it feel to be neglected? Feels terrible to be on the other end, right? The tables have turned now. I sacrificed golden years of my life for you. Now I want to live for myself. It's depressing to think she's been holding this up for so long. I tried to confront her about it because it was becoming poisonous. I've attempted to converse honestly with her, asking whether she's depressed. The difficulty is that she isn't ready to open up. Every time I bring this up, she smirks and says stuff like, "Look at you, who's needy now, who's acting immature?" Therapy was my final bet, and I thought she would open up there. Guess what? She too is hesitant to take the plunge. Her attitude is driving me insane. I have asked her multiple times whether she is furious with me, if she no longer loves me, or if she has met someone else. Her response to all of my questions is either chuckling or loud laughter followed by snide remarks or gaslighting, such as, "You're reaping the fruit of your actions." What actions? It needs to be clarified. There is no exact response, only grinning, eye rolls, and avoiding talks. She is practically addicted to her phone and laptop all the time. If I'm present, she chuckles at texts before immediately locking her screen. These days, she rarely tells me where she's going. I've informed her that her behavior is harming our marriage, but it appears she doesn't care. She's been spending weekends with her colleagues. I feel as if I am losing her, or perhaps I have already lost her. I even asked if she wanted to divorce me. Same response, chuckles and vague remarks such as, "Not so easily, honey." I tried to snoop into her phone and laptop, but they were always locked. I asked her once or again for the password, but she said, "Did I ever check your phone or laptop?" No, right? So back off. If I try to explain how she's been acting, she blames me, claiming that this is how I've always treated her. I inquired why she never expressed her concerns. She said she gave up everything because she loved me, and now it's my turn to prove it. It seems illogical to me. I'm not here to validate my concern. I know it's concerning, and I can't live like this. I also want to know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm considering hiring a PI, but I don't know how it works. Can someone provide me with leads, extensive information, safeguards, and legal advice? I attempted to check online, but it was too overwhelming, so I came here for aid. Despite several attempts, I was unable to access her laptop and phone. Eventually, I hired a PI. It took them about a month to dig into everything. The wait was unbearable, but her behavior was even more irritating. Day by day, I became increasingly convinced she was seeing someone. I was well prepared when the agency gave the facts, but something threw me off track. She was cheating on me with a colleague. He's 10 years younger than her, but they work at the same level in the company. Their relationship is more than physical. They appear to be in love. The agency shared photos of them entering a hotel hand in hand. The part that left me heartbroken was that she was planning to divorce me. She had been visiting a divorce lawyer with the affair partner and intended to serve me on our 8th anniversary and walk away with half of my assets. I can't express how I felt after learning her plan. It would have been easy to throw the evidence in her face and get rid of her, but how could I let her off the hook so quickly? She wanted to make it traumatic. I had to fulfill her desire as a good husband, right? If she had a problem with me, she could have directly talked to me instead of playing a dirty game. Even if she fell in love with someone and wanted a divorce, she could have walked up to me and confessed. Instead, this woman was planning to humiliate me. So I played along. I immediately hired a divorce lawyer and shared all the details I got from the agency. I even paid extra to expedite the process because I had to beat her at her own game. Meanwhile, she continued her antics. It became challenging to put up with her after knowing the truth. I started spending more time at work. She didn't notice I had become distant for a while, and it stopped bothering her. However, when she realized this, she started throwing me breadcrumbs to keep me engaged so that she could pull the carpet from under my feet. After months, she tried to get intimate with me. It felt disgusting knowing there was someone else involved with her at the same time. I am not too proud of my actions, but that day I gave in and was with her in a very rough way. I almost made her cry, yet I was not ready to leave. I feel like throwing up whenever I think of that. One more thing I did that night was record us on audio. I wanted a video recording but couldn't set it up at the last moment, so I went with audio. It served two purposes. Since the paperwork was in progress, my lawyer cautioned me to document and record every interaction with her as much as possible. That recording also helped me later. Once the paperwork was ready, I planned a surprise party for her where I could serve her in front of friends, and before I could implement my plan, an opportunity walked up to me. There was an annual day celebration at her company, and I got an invite to tag along. There was nothing like it, right? With my lawyer's help, I prepared to serve her divorce papers publicly. In the days leading up to the event, I played the role of a clueless husband. She probably thought she had me wrapped around her finger. When she asked if I was attending, I said I was curious about my free schedule but might show up for a while. She didn't seem to care. She probably thought I wouldn't go. On the night of the event, I dressed sharply and showed up. I didn't call her beforehand. I just walked in, hoping to bump into her awkwardly. The atmosphere was lively with people talking and bonding. Finally, our eyes met. She was there with a bunch of people, laughing and acting carefree, as if she didn't have a worry in the world. Her affair partner was also present. I recognized him from the picture provided by the agency. I walked up to her and she looked flustered upon seeing me. However, she quickly regained her composure and introduced me to everyone. I was focusing on her affair partner's reaction. He looked visibly nervous. After exchanging pleasantries, he backed off, but I noticed him staring at me from a distance. My stomach churned with anger, but I stayed calm because I planned to bring him down to his knees. I waited for the perfect opportunity when the maximum number of people were gathered together, so my revenge would be impactful. Slowly, as people started relaxing and mingling, I pulled some of her colleagues and their partners aside to raise a toast to Nora. I began by thanking her for standing by me for 8 years. Just when my apparent gesture struck her, I exposed her affair. I don't remember my exact words. I was anxious and in turmoil, but I said something like, "I have a gift for Nora for being such a wonderful wife." I pulled out the divorce papers and handed them to her. While she was opening them, I said, "Let's raise a toast to the new couple in town, my wife and this loser." Nora froze when she saw the headline in the papers. She tried to stop me, but I screamed, "Happy anniversary, baby. You were planning a surprise for me on our anniversary. I gave you one before it." From the corner of my eye, I saw her affair partner trying to sneak out of the party. I pounced on him and held him by his collar. Let me tell you, I'm 6 feet 5 inches, and this guy was barely 5 feet 8 inches. I almost swept him off the ground and asked him how long he'd been screwing my wife. Security intervened and freed him from my grasp in a fraction of a second. But even in that short span, I felt satisfied. I was escorted out of the venue. I didn't look back at Nora or see what happened with her affair partner. I just drove off and went home. I waited to see if she would return, but she didn't. For 2 days, there was dead silence. Then I got a call from her lawyer for a meeting. She wanted me to leave the house, claiming it along with alimony. I was furious. I told her, "If you lay your eyes on my house, I'll destroy you." At the meeting, I took my lawyer along. She confessed to falling in love with the affair partner and resented me for ignoring her for work. She also alleged that I had been denying her physical intimacy for years. She and her affair partner planned to marry as soon as the divorce was settled. She proposed an out-of-court settlement asking for half my assets in the house. I refused to let her have the house. My lawyer and I agreed to fight in court. Eventually, we reached a middle ground. I would ship out her stuff but only sell the house once the divorce was finalized. The next day, she arrived with her lawyer and moved everything out. That evening, I showed up at her affair partner's place. She had moved in with him, and he was scared of seeing me. She exited the bedroom and tried to shield him, but I pulled her aside and said, "Back off." I told him, "I'm not here to create a scene. I just want to share something with you, man to man." I whispered to him, "You love this woman, right? She told you she was neglected in her marriage and lonely for 8 years, right? That's how she crawled into your pants. Well, did she tell you she was still sleeping with me while professing her love for you?" He looked at her in disbelief. He almost freaked out and asked her why she lied to him about her sex life. He kept repeating, "Why did you swear you didn't sleep with your husband for years?" "You lied to me." She dodged his question. She said she'd explain everything later, claiming her priority at that moment was to kick me out before I did more damage. She asked me to leave and even threatened to call the cops on me. I said, "I'll go, but not before I expose you." I looked at her affair partner and said, "She swore she wasn't having sex with me, right? Do you want to hear her moaning?" Then, I played the audio recording. She snapped at my phone, trying to grab it, but I handed a pen drive with the entire recording to her affair partner and said, "You can hear the full audio here." She tried to snatch it from him, but he didn't let her have it. I could already see the tension building between them. The betrayal was sinking in for him. I left with a massive grin on my face. Revenge is best served cold. The divorce is settled. But that's not all. I ruined them badly. After I served her at the party, she and her affair partner received immediate suspension notices from their company, instructing them to stop coming to work until further notice. The HR department investigated the matter, as their company had strict policies against workplace relationships. Both Nora and her affair partner were fired the following week. Back home, she tried to paint herself as the victim. She told everyone I got jealous and insecure when she started working and accused me of being controlling and cheating on her. She also claimed I ignored her and left her lonely for years, which led to her wanting a divorce. To make matters worse, she accused me of framing her with false evidence to ruin her career and creating a scene at her office party out of spite. The funny part? She was living with her affair partner after moving out of my house. She fabricated a lie that I had thrown her out, so her affair partner took pity on her and let her move in. She claimed she fell in love with him because he cared for her despite losing his job due to my jealousy. She flipped the entire narrative against me. But here's the thing. I had all the evidence. While the world might believe her lies, the court runs on proof. Her dream of walking away with half of my assets was shattered. My lawyer fought hard to protect my house, and we succeeded. Yes, I had to pay alimony since she was jobless, but it was only 6 months of maintenance. I didn't mind parting with that because in return I got my freedom and peace of mind. I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't acted proactively. She was planning to blindside me and leave me broke while she and her affair partner lived a wonderful life together, funded by the money she expected to get from the divorce. Unfortunately for them, the alimony she received was barely enough to cover her expenses. Her affair partner, who had been freeloading on her, also relied on that money. The guy thought he could marry a rich wife and live comfortably off her divorce settlement. Poor fool. He lost his job, his career was ruined, and he ended up with a freeloader who hated working. Nora had lived a comfortable life for years without ever needing to work seriously. She only started working because of her affair partner and the opportunity to get back at me. Now, she had to slog just to feed herself. When she thought things couldn't get worse, they did. After she was left with practically nothing from the divorce, her affair partner abandoned her. The cracks in their relationship started when I played the audio for him. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that he trusted a married woman not to sleep with her husband while still living with him. Maybe he was tolerating her, hoping to hit the jackpot. But when he realized there was no jackpot, he dumped her. I learned most of this through my lawyer during the proceedings. She even tried to use her sob story to demand more alimony from me. She really thought I cared about her miserable life. I thank my lucky stars for giving me the clarity to act at the right time and safeguard my interests. After all this, I'm happier than ever. After 1.5 years of living in self-doubt, I've finally started to live again and focus on self-care. I've come out stronger than I ever thought I could. That's it for today's story. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Remember to hit the like button and turn on notifications to get future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.